Hello. Hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Um, I've never done a live Facebook like this before. Um, so I think I'm doing this right. I hope I'm doing this right. I was told to give some people some time and it's not quite 6 yet. So I'm gonna sit here and introduce myself and maybe talk a little bit about my work. And then I think the way things are going to go is I'll read a little bit and I'll introduce myself, read a little bit, then take some questions. And yeah, I just got off work. I work at this comic book store called Betty's Books, which is a really cool job. The store is so awesome, and I love just being around a bunch of comic books and a bunch of nerds. It's great. Um, yeah, I'm just sitting at home now, and work went really well, and I'm super excited to share my work with everybody here. Um, yeah, what else should I say? I'm really like into skating. I love skating, roller skating. I really I've really just, since I've been living in St. Louis, I've definitely just learned a lot about like the skate culture here, and I'm really loving it. It's such a big family here. It's really awesome. Um, and I'm also a journalist, and I write poetry, but I also write, I guess, so far the pieces I've written have been a little more on the long narrative form of journalism. Yeah, I write, do freelance work, and I also am just I I just wrote an essay and about Avatar: The Last Airbender and climate justice, and I am continuing that kind of freelance life. I really enjoy it. I'm also a teacher. Yeah, and again, I'm excited to be here. So I think I'm going to start reading now. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm really grateful for y'all. Thanks to Shannon for inviting me and having me read tonight. Okay, so this first poem I'm gonna read. I'm just gonna read a few pieces, nothing too long or exorbitant. This first piece is titled "Landfill," and it's very imagistic in the sense that it is. I'm trying to paint the picture of a landfill, but also talk about a landfill as kind of this human legacy, and also just about this poem really like explores what we throw away and the consequences of throwing things away. This is where our wealth haunts the earth. Bulldozers leveling back to dirt, frayed comforters, pieces of faces ripped from family photos, Mancala marbles clanging at the bottom of a black bag with dull spoons and a steel urn, sanctifying mounds of past hope. Metal corrodes quick in this acidic environment, leaves behind gold leachate turning the land into venom. Like ichor, it disenchants the wind, ashes yoked in an alloy vase. Even when we drove past this graveyard, ice-capped on I-40, I smelled our bygones begging me to wonder, will I become that slurry if my bones are scrapped this way? I worried about the lost chicks a farmer ordered during the pandemic, the possums harvesting unfertile and half-hatched eggs, and the jewel carts or boba straws that sneak off into the ocean. I used to have hermit crabs with pokeballs painted on their shells, prayed that they made their way back to the sea when they were lost. Instead, I found them petrified under the kitchen sink after 7 months. Which is to say, we threw them away too, with all the witness propaganda, the red leather Bible you gave me that shed its spine. If no one can create matter nor destroy it, will waste come back to us in one form or another over time, as a quilt of satin scraps, cracked MJ CDs, unraveled buttons? Can a grandmother return as my sister, my father, my cat, if given a second chance? Okay, this next poem I'm going to read is a sonnet, and it's about a trip that I took to our family's cemetery near Arcadia, Oklahoma. And kind of the poem is working to like sort of encapsulate the feeling of returning to a place that you know like your ancestors have been previously. At Gower Memorial Cemetery, Arcadia, Oklahoma. I can't stop thinking about the wind moaning on this ridge. It means the land grows more silent, the more west red soil bleeds into the Great Basin. We have passed this historic site on a long strip of rock road a couple times before finding it, tucked between two hedgerows of blackjack oak and eastern red cedar, a prairie starved of fire. The Gower family, once slaves themselves, donated a piece of their homestead to the poor who could not afford proper burials. A potter's field where names carved onto tin, supper tables, and red stone are still buried, and no one is certain the origin of those chills climbing up your spine, whose bones you were walking on. Okay. Wow. I have 15 minutes, and like 15 minutes is actually a long time. Let me see. Okay, the next poem I'm gonna read is a poem that I recently wrote, but it's a series. It's the beginning of a series of poems that I'm gonna finish, and also like I've been working on poems, like editing poems for my thesis, and I've been working on, I've also just been like working on adding those poems to my thesis. I just graduated from Southern Illinois University at Carbondale, so I'm trying to like think of my poems as chapbooks. First of all, because I've never published a chapbook before, but I also find that a lot of the poems in the manuscript are grouping together in ways that feel like a chapbook. So a lot of the poems I have like a series with them, a series of poems are included in a series, or like a sonnet crown. I would say like I'm like really inspired by Honore Jeffers and how in The Age of Phyllis, like she kind of does this awesome technique in her manuscript where she does group poems, and they do kind of feel like their own collections, either in form or like in theme and things like that. So this poem that I'm about to read is about St. Louis, and it's about how there are it's about how St. Louis is built on top of these very ancient mounds from the Hopewell culture, and from the people of Cahokia. And there once was like, I think there were over like 27 mounds like in the metro St. Louis area. And then a lot of them were just built on top of, in order for the city to be built. And for example, like Forest Park has a bunch of has several mounds in it that were like single people burials, from the Hopewell culture and from the people of Cahokia. These poems, long story short, are this is I'm just going to read one of the poems. It's the first poem, and these poems are very much also trying to encapsulate a certain image, but also and let the image kind of drive the narrative of the poem. But also, as the poems progress, I want to get more weird, and I want to get more like almost sci-fi, to the point where like the world is like the world still has these mounds, and the world still has these people by default of having these mounds, in St. Louis in particular. So this is Mound City 1. This nickname rings, arches the gap between ancient and future, carries a warning of what happens when the ground rises up to meet us, acts like a mirror reflecting civilization's destiny. From wilderness to skyscrapers, ruin back to wilderness, meaning there are hills here we have to climb for the dream, hills from the realm of buzzard and horned serpent, where warriors turn into falcons once buried, and corn falls off the skin from a spirit of giving. Sometimes in this city, you can't tell the difference between a hill and a mound when you peer into the distant horizon. Sometimes in this city, best practice is to bulldoze burials back to earth, so there are no bone hills left to climb thousands of years from now. Only city development and the one mound to tower over all others, hollow, metallic portal to the spirit world. Okay, and then I think I'll read one more poem. This is another poem that's going to be kind of in a chapbook of sorts, another serialized poem. So this is a poem that talks about genealogy and the things we inherit, and is part of a series of other poems that talk about the things that my family has inherited. And this is Genealogy of Dreamwalking, after Afro Blue. Lying my favorite way in bed, on my back, one leg up, chasing shadows on the ceiling like Shikamaru, I've listened to every version of Afro Blue, from Santa Maria to Badu, chasing after more feelings of familiarity. Like real hills do, the ceiling's contour lines roll chartreuse and green-gray infinite. Earbuds cascading into soft, hard hand strokes. On congas, marimba roll, piano ring, woodwind timbered voice or flute, riffing on a B-flat pentatonic blue scale, free-falling into a dream. I am lying, pressed against a bruised orchid for safekeeping, on my side, on the other side. When I come back, I'm in a strange bed with a figure shrouded, tracing wings down my back, hot as his voice, bells of awakening, baptized. Naked, a cocoa-hued body placed in a book, my body cold, warm against a body in a bed that quakes to knowing, a strange man in shadow into the thrashes, still bleeding, and iron branding, the sound of shackles, these wings have now been. Okay, I think that puts me at 15 minutes. So I'm going to take questions now. I see the comments now. I was also told that it kind of takes a little while for comments to come in, so I'm gonna wait and take your time for asking questions, or if there are no questions, that's cool too. I really appreciate being here, and I really appreciate just everybody listening. And this is such a cool reading series. And I know that this reading series started up with the pandemic and everything, so this is such a great way to just get poetry out in the world. And I'm just really grateful to be a part of this. I'm gonna take questions. I'm still just sitting here. What did I do this weekend? I went to Carbondale to visit some friends and go hiking, and I was also going to take some pictures of these trees that are bent, and they're trail trees, and I think so. These trees were located at Panther's Den, which is like 30 miles some direction in Carbondale, around Carbondale, and there are these trail trees there that are bent in these very interesting shapes that you could definitely tell that they're not like naturally bent. And so I needed to go take some pictures there, and wanted to do that too. So that's what I did this weekend. Let me see. I do see one question. Do you know if there are burial mounds in every state? So the mounds that I'm writing about are they're not there. I wouldn't say that there are mounds in every state. There are mounds in a lot of states that run through the Mississippi Valley, River Valley in particular. So there are mounds like all the way up in Ohio. There are mounds in Illinois, which is where Cahokia is. And I actually took a trip over the summer where my partner and I went to visit some of the mounds that are southeast of here. So mounds in Tennessee, mounds in Louisiana, mounds in Georgia. The Hopewell culture, and like those are different cultures that are building those mounds, like in where Etowah mounds are, like that that culture is like the ancestors of the Muskogee Creek Nation, and you can also go like visit the these mounds are just, they run through that Mississippi River Valley, and some of the oldest and biggest cities in North America were just along this river. And so it's really cool. If you ever get a chance to visit, please do. Like it's really powerful. Okay. So Shannon is asking, how has the pandemic and all its strictures changed the way you work, read, and make sense of your place in the writing community? What are you reading right now? I'll answer that first question. So, and I'll answer both questions. But the pandemic, I would say, has, like everybody, has caused a lot of anxiety for me, which I think has definitely affected my writing. I also have found that like just writing has helped my anxiety a lot. So I would say, like, when I feel anxious, it's hard for me to write. But then, when I write, it helps it's weird, it helps my anxiety. So the pandemic, I think, has changed trying to make sure my home and my space is in a way for me to like feel comfortable writing in. It's also changed, like, maybe the way that I kind of think about writing, and what is writing, because during the pandemic, I started working on audio format stories and trying to make audio art into kind of a type of literature. So, yeah, I would say, like, I've definitely lost my sense of self in the community a little bit, just because, like, we don't go to in-person readings as much. Now, I will say that's changing, and I'm super grateful to participate and go to readings now, but I'm trying to regain that sense of centrality in the writing community for sure, and this is helping, and I'm really grateful for that. Right now, I'm reading a book of fiction called Ishmael, and before that, I just got done reading Poet Warrior by Joy Harjo, which, if you haven't read, is so good. Please pick up a copy if you get a chance, or ask for it for Christmas, or both books are really good. I recently told myself that, and I guess it's part of my oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Part of my New Year's resolution is to read more books. So I've challenged myself to read 20 pages a day. So that's something I'm doing right now. Another question is, thank you. I really needed that water. Another question is if I can talk about how my journalism has, how it informs my other creative work. I think so. I'm definitely new to journalism still. I'm still, like, really, like, kind of getting my feet wet and emerging, as I say, in the fields of writing. So I would still say, like, I'm learning a lot still. But when I was, like, first starting to learn, I was really learning, like, the structures of, like, writing a pitch and the structures of narrative and things like that. That happens in journalism, and I feel like that's really helped my poetry a lot. I think writing creative nonfiction has also helped, like, me just get a better understanding of my voice, because voice has been, like, a really really tough thing for me to reconcile with and to harness. I will say I feel like I've gotten so much better, like, after my MFA and then also writing journalism, but I'm still, like, working on it. It's something that I'm working on. I was a lifelong student of writing and poetry. But something that I've found that I'm doing in journalism is that I'm really, like, imagining writing these stories and fantasizing about writing certain stories that I wouldn't have otherwise thought of if I had stayed a poet. So, like, recently I wrote a story about climate activism and Avatar: The Last Airbender, and how Avatar and fan base activism is a kind of mentor to get people, like, to care about the climate crisis. And like, I would have never thought of that if I had, like, just had stuck with poetry. I never would have thought to have written a piece about Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I love that show, and I think that's inspired me to, like, take that into my poetry even, and start writing, like, poems that have more, like, anime references and the things that, like, shaped who I am now today. So, like, I had a Shikamaru reference in one of my poems because he's one of my favorite characters in Naruto. And I've also come to the conclusion that I want to write poetry like Thundercat. So Thundercat, is a musician, and I want to just, like, be able to write poems like that. And I think creative nonfiction has helped me realize that. Yeah. Yeah. Are there any other questions? I feel like I'm really bad at talking. What are words? What are words? They're hard. Words are hard. That's all I have to say. Um, any other questions? Hello. I think this is supposed to be like a 30-minute reading, so we can cut it whenever. I can wait for some more questions. Right now, I like anime wise, I'm watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm trying to watch the rest of it so I can watch Stone Ocean. I really want to watch it. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much for having me, Shannon. This was awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye and send all my love and light to you all. And thank you. If there are no more questions. Okay, there's one more question. Hold up. Okay, I'm gonna answer it since I think I have a little bit of time. How has your family responded to your writing? Yeah, you know, it's been I think my family is proud of me for the most part, and I'm so happy about that. Like I'm my family is really proud of me, and I'm like really grateful and happy to have their support. And I don't think I would be able to really do what I'm doing with my writing if not for my family and my family caring so much. So I've honestly like have been surprised and happy for their support. They've just been really supporting me all the way. I do get permission to write, and you know, I get permission from my family to write about certain things. So you know, having those conversations can be hard, but they're very rewarding in the end because my family and I come to a very intimate and deep understanding about the way we experienced some of the things we went through. So yeah, again, I'm like really grateful. My family hasn't like, you know, they haven't taken me, they haven't like, they're not like, they haven't disowned me yet. So I feel like I'm on the right path, which is very comforting and secure and like makes me feel secure about what I'm doing. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. Oh, hi Teresa. Yeah, I mean, I'm not psychic or anything, but I'm wishing you the best of luck. I really hope that you pass. Yeah. Yeah. I really appreciate you being here, Arlen. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. I am so grateful for being here. Thank you. Bye.